Good evening. My name is Mr. Okoji. I am the curriculum leader for science, and I just want to take a few moments just to go through some important information with you today. The first slide that I've got up for you is just a breakdown of a combined science GCSE course. As you can see, it's equivalent to 2 GCSEs. The students they actually cover, all 3 sciences, so that's biology, chemistry, and physics. They have 6 papers in total, which is a combined 7.5 hours worth of exams. This is slightly different to the separate science students who, although they still cover the 3 separate sciences, have to do so in much more depth. And because of that, their total amount of hours in terms of exams is 10.5 hours worth. They also have an extra topic that they need to cover within physics, which is the space topic. This slide just covers or just shows you, a breakdown of what the grades look like for the separate sciences. So as you can see, most of you will be familiar with the new grade boundaries, so going from a grade 9 as the highest grade all the way down to a grade 1. However, the combined students actually have what is known as a double grade, and the highest grade being a grade 9-9, going all the way down to a grade 1-1. Obviously, we're living through some interesting times, and at the moment, some concerns from some students is, will we actually finish the course in time? So what you can see in front of you here is just a little long-term plan, which just identifies when particular topics will be covered and when they should finish. And as you can see, we will finish the course with lots of time to revise, because we're due to finish about 3 weeks before Easter. So we've got lots of time to revise and close any misconceptions and any gaps, and have lots of time for exam practice as well. So what is it that we're going to do to help support your child as they approach their GCSEs? So what I put together is just a retrieval homework timetable. What this means is that every week I will be setting the students one piece of homework, which is based on revision, as well as their class teacher, who will be setting them weekly homework based on the current topics that they will be covering. The retrieval homework will be carried out on Seneca. So Seneca is just our online revision resource. And to access Seneca, you just need to go to www.senecalearning.com. Here's an example of a piece of work that I set some students recently. So this was on diffusion and exchange surfaces. As you can see, student A completed these 5 tasks really well. Only took 1 attempt, but as you can see from their average score, they performed quite well. However, student B, although technically having done the homework, you can see that their scores are generally much lower. Now, although both students, you would say, have done the homework, what I would hope is that student B would actually look at those particular scores and then reattempt and redo that piece of work and try to improve their average score. So, how can you as parents and carers help us to get the students and keep the students honest? What I would like you to do is to create a parent account on Seneca, and this allows you to monitor the progress that your child is doing on the course. Now, it's not only science that uses Seneca, there are other subjects within the school that use Seneca as well. Creating a parent account and then linking your child's account to your account will allow you to see their progress through all of their courses. So, what else we're looking to do with the students is to improve their revision techniques. Now, one of the questions I usually ask for students is, from this list of 6 strategies, which strategies do you normally do when you are revising? Most of the times the students will say that they either read notes, they highlight pages from a textbook or from a revision guide, and they usually write summaries. However, Neuroscience says that the most effective strategies is, number 1, testing. So the students have to test themselves. They need to create a timetable and follow the timetable, more importantly, and also to use visual elements. Now I'm just going to quickly go through just two of the top two strategies with you right now. A lot of the information that I'm about to cover you can find from the Learning Scientists, which are a group of neuroscientists which are interested in doing lots and lots of research into the science of learning. So the first one and the most effective revision strategy is testing. Now what this image is just showing you is that to be able to escape the maze, what this little mouse has to be able to do is continuously try out new and different passages until he or she eventually manages to escape from this particular maze. So how effective is testing as a strategy? So an actual study was done where 4 groups had to learn some information, and as you can see, this would be an example of what these 4 groups had to do. So they had to learn exchange services, so these 3 key topics, and also the application of this. They had 2 different revision strategies. They could either simply read information, or they could test themselves on the features of good exchange services. Then after the period of time, they were then given an exam on that. So, as I said before, we had 4 groups. The first group basically spent 20 hours of reading, and they did 20 hours of testing. And the 4th group did 10 hours of reading and 10 hours of testing. And as you can see, these are the exam scores that they got at the bottom. So Group A naturally got 81% was their average mark, so they did really well. The group that did less hours of reading and less hours of testing, they did much poorly with 35% as their average mark. However, the 2 middle groups, you had Group B, who spent the majority of their time testing themselves and half or less time actually reading, compared to Group C, which spent less time testing themselves and more time reading. The results from that showed that increasing the amount of testing that you do will have a much larger benefit than simply increasing the amount of reading that the students are doing. So testing themselves and testing their knowledge is the most effective strategy when it comes to revision. So how can students implement this within their own revision? One of the websites that we use within school is a website called Quizzical. Now Quizzical is it's a quizzing software, it's a quizzing website, and what students do is they type in Quizzical, which leads them to this web page that looks like this. The students will then pick the course that they are interested in. So for example, GCSE chemistry. They will then pick the topic that they would like to generate some quiz questions for, and then they will generate some quiz questions. All the students then need to do is just to practice answering those particular questions, and then they can easily correct and mark their work by simply clicking on the image. What students can also do is access Physics and Maths Tutor. Now, Physics and Maths Tutor is a brilliant site for lots and lots of past papers, as well as question packs by topic. It has the question paper alongside the mark scheme, which will give students plenty of opportunity to try out exam questions. Now, the second most effective strategy is creating a timetable and following that particular timetable. Now, I know I was guilty of this when I was at school. The teacher would tell me that we had an exam, and then that would be the day that I would actually start revising, or I would cram the night before, just before the exam, and hope for the best, basically. But what studies have shown is that actually, if you space out the amount of revision that you do over a much longer period of time, then you are able to recall and retain much more information. And so what I would like the students to do, again, most of the students will be familiar with this gentleman over here. So he's the Blue Science Man. You can find his videos on YouTube, as well as on his website, freesciencelessons.co.uk. To help them implement spaced practice, this is just an example of what it might look like down here. So on Monday, they may do some work on quantitative chemistry, specifically relative formula mass, where they'll either watch the video from my free science lessons and make some notes and then answer some questions on that. On Tuesday, they may then do some extra work on selective breeding, but then on Wednesday, they're then going to go back and redo some of the questions from Monday's work, as well as doing some extra questions on reacting masses. So for our students, that would be mass Mr. Moles. And then again, as you can see on Thursday and Friday, they'll then move on to a slightly different topic, coming back to the same topic again on Sunday, where they're just checking that they can still retain some of that key information. The key thing is once they've made their timetable, they have to stick to their timetable. So whichever way they actually construct their timetable, the most important thing is to stick to it, is that consistency of practice. If you'd like any further information about either combined science or the triple science course, then please feel free to get in touch. Thank you very much.